All right, I think we are live on the YouTube. Holy cow, we did it, people. Regardless of anything that I say for the next hour or so, we did it. The last year and a half of abject lunacy all culminated in this. We all watched it. We tweeted it. We Facebooked it, Snapchatted it, whatever the hell else you do, and we all survived. Well, I haven't heard anything about deaths that have occurred during the debate yet, but I'm sure there were a couple of debate-related deaths, probably some alcohol overdoses, but I would guarantee that nobody died of an overdose of weed, which is something that I wish they would have talked about. Anyway, there was a lot of interesting stuff there, so I hope that you guys were playing along on Twitter, which is where I was doing most of my interaction, but we're going to jump over here to YouTube now. So first off, you can comment in the section right down below, and I have my crack staff of David and Amira and Emma Dog here, and they'll be sending me some of your questions and comments on the old, I got a computer, I got an iPad, I got an iPhone here. She's got a computer, he's got a computer, Dog's got a computer, we're on it. So let me know your questions and thoughts. I want to hear what everybody thinks. I'll share some of my stuff, and we'll go back and forth and we'll talk about what happened. For the record, for any of you right now that in the background, like I, have CNN or MSNBC or Fox, whatever, just mute them now. Whatever you're going to get on them is just pre-packaged nonsense. There is so little insight into what actually goes on and the truth of what you actually saw. You're going to get virtually nothing. I'm not saying I'm so much better than all of those people that are on there, but what I am saying is that we have no filter between us, and I have no political agenda other than I want honest debate in this country, and I want real answers, and I'm sick of the bullshit that you guys are sick of, and that's what it's about to me. So anyway, so they're gonna send me some questions, and we'll go from there. But first, let me just give you my general thoughts. So I think the first 45 minutes, I think Trump really owned it. I think he hit her on broad themes about government and ineptitude and the stuff and economy and stuff like that. That really is his wheelhouse. And he was calmer. He was biting and attacking, which first off, I just want to say something about the attacking thing and interruptions in general. And I mean this whether she was interrupting him or him her, although mostly it was Trump interrupting her. You know, we're so used to robotic politicians, and we mock that all the time. They don't act like humans. They do talking points, blah, blah, blah. We finally had a little bit of an exchange. There was actual exchange and dialogue that was crossing each other. They were crossing the streams. And yes, are there moments of rudeness around that? Yeah. But that's what a debate actually is supposed to be. So I thought for the first 45 minutes, there was actually a healthy debate, especially for what we're used to getting. That was a healthy debate there. That was great. You know, watch old debates. Google what the Lincoln Douglas debates were about. You know, you shouldn't be afraid. We can't, on one hand, you can't be like, oh, politicians are all robotic and speak in talking points. And then the second that there's an exchange, that there's passion, and that there's calling each other's bullshit out, you can't get, oh, this isn't presidential. That's just nonsense. I would much rather have people be real than presidential. I want my president to act presidential, but you need some actual human exchange. That's what the mainstream media doesn't give us. That's what the politicians don't give us. So when we have human interaction and human emotion, I saw all of Twitter, all of the pundit class was all about, oh, it's so rude and it's so wrong and it's so bad. And it's like, shut up. People want human normal emotion that you and I have. So I thought for the first 45 minutes he did well. Then she was nailing him on the taxes and some business stuff, and the birther stuff particularly. He got really blathery and defensive. I think in terms of demeanor, look, it is what it is. So it depends what you like. So if you like general sort of standard politician, whatever, then Hillary stands there and she smiles and she looks like a robot and whatever, but it seems presidential, whatever that might be. He makes more faces and he fiddles around more, blah, blah, blah. I think there's actual value in that. But at the same time, I fully understand why some people don't think that's presidential. But I thought he controlled it for the most part, lost it a little bit at the end. And then, all right, so I'll let you guys throw me out some questions, and then I'll share more stuff. Also, what were you drinking tonight? What were you smoking? How did you get through this thing? I started with some Coronas. I've shifted to wine. But we had a massive spread of all kinds of food here. But it was interesting. So, all right, here we go. So I'm going to just rifle off some questions for you. Hey, Dave, do you think the Debate made a difference for either candidate. Thank you anyway, even though I don't agree with a lot of what you say, I do value your opinion on it. Well, thank you. And that's what I try to bring here. That's okay. I have things I don't agree with myself all the time. So that's really okay. Do I think it was, I think my takeaway would be that if one of them won this, it was a little bit more of a win for Trump because he showed that on the prime stage on one-on-one, he could do it. And especially for that first half where he made a lot of points. I don't think people ultimately are voting on tax records or history of businesses or things like that. So on the gut feeling thing, for the people that questioned his temperament, I think he pretty much did the job in the first half and then sort of lost it on the second half. Hillary, you didn't get anything new, but if you like that, then great. Then you probably feel she won. Okay, let's see. Somebody said, will Hillary ask for fact checkers hurt her? Oh, so she several times asked for fact checkers. Will that hurt her? Well, it plays into the narrative that she's somehow in it with the press, right? With the media. Because it's like he says something and then she goes, fact checkers, you feel like a school teacher, you fact checkers, you get on that. Would you get on that? Because, you know, you're all in my pocket. So I don't know that it directly hurts her, but I would like to see some fact checking. You know, this thing about Trump in the Iraq War. Now, on one hand, I think it's largely irrelevant because he was a private citizen at the time. So whether he did go on Stern and say basically he was for it, but if he had a lot of private conversations, now it's hard to believe what Sean Hannity would say because Sean Hannity obviously is in the tank for Trump. So I don't know that we could call Sean Hannity tonight and say, what did Trump say to you back in 2003 or whatever? So that's a real issue. But the point is he was a private citizen. She voted for the war. And by the way, Barack Obama blasted the hell out of her and basically won the nomination because he was more anti-Iraq war than she was 8 years ago. So her decisions, either in Iraq or Libya or whatever, absolutely have led to the deaths of a lot of people. That's whether you're for these things or not. A lot of people have died because of these decisions, right? That being said, Saddam Hussein was doing a hell of a lot of bad shit and had rape rooms and all kinds, was gassing Kurds and doing terrible things. So a lot of people were dying either way. So I'm not even making it about the decision, but the idea that somehow a private citizen's choice who is only privy to a certain amount of information and a public, you know, Secretary of State or a senator's choice of the same is a little disingenuous, I think. Somebody said, Dave, how do you think the moderator did, Lester Holt? So you guys know my policy on interviewing. My policy is that I try to let my guests speak. And if they're saying something that's kind of crazy or out there or something that I don't agree with, my policy is I'll let them slowly hang themselves. If you let people talk, you sort of see where their logic goes, and slowly they'll kind of do it to themselves until they're hanging by their own rope. So I think he did a pretty good job of that. I think you know, dealing with Trump for sure. Trump jumps in and talks over people, so it's not an easy thing. You know, everyone wants everyone to be perfect. Everyone wants you to be the perfect interviewer and the perfect moderator and the perfect whatever. It's just not that easy. I say this as someone that does this stuff for a living. But I think he basically did a good job, and he basically kept them on point. I'm curious what you guys think. Did you think that the split screen was a little distracting? I watched it on CNN. And they had a split screen the entire time. I think most of the channels did have that. And I found it a little distracting because you're listening to one, but you're watching the reactions of the other. And you really want to focus on what they're saying. You know, so I'm curious what you guys think about that. Let's see. Hey, Dave, how do you think the debate would have been with Johnson in it? Look, you guys know my feelings about Gary Johnson. I was hoping that he would be in this debate so we could have one voice that was different, one small government voice in this thing, because neither one of these people are small government people. But as I said in my video, that when I endorsed him to get him to the debate, I didn't say I was voting for him. I said I wanted to help him get to the 15%. We failed. I tried. I think I tried harder than Gary Johnson in a lot of respects. So what do I think would have happened? He wouldn't have done well because he's not a particularly good speaker. He's not a particularly clean or clear independent libertarian. So I don't think he would have been out-policied by Hillary and out-insulted by Trump. So he wouldn't have done particularly well. However, I just would have liked to have seen some libertarian ideas. Even though, as I say, he's not a greatest libertarian, I would have liked to seen some libertarian ideas get across. Okay, somebody said, what were Trump's strongest points? What were Hillary's strongest points? I think Hillary nailed him on, well, let's see, I'll start with Trump because I think he was better in the first half. So Trump's strongest points in general, I think he makes an extremely competent argument and a real argument when he says, you know, you can go on your site and see all your plans and, you know, see all the things you would do and blah, blah, blah. It's like you've been in power all this time. You were a first lady, you were a senator, you were a secretary of state. So why did all these bad things happen if you suddenly magically know the tricks? He's like, you could write it on your site, but it doesn't mean you're doing it. I think that's an extremely fair critique and attack. And I think he really, that was where his wheelhouse was at the beginning. I think she really nailed him on some of the taxes stuff, some of the stuff with his businesses, you know, with the lawsuits with black people. I'll do a little more research on that. It's a little unclear to me. What he's saying is that he got out of the lawsuits without ever saying that he was guilty or that his company was guilty of these practices. You know, and a couple times, you know, she attacks his business stuff about, you know, you use tax breaks for this or didn't pay taxes on that. That's what a businessman does. That for any of you that are in business for yourself, or even forget if you're in business for yourself, any of us that pay taxes, do you try to pay more taxes than you have to? If there's a loophole, do you try to use it? I'm not saying do illegal things. I don't do illegal things with my taxes. But when I sit down with my accountant, I show him what I did, and we try to figure out, well, what are the things that are within the legal limits to do? And he did that as a businessman. So it's a slippery slope when you make that argument, I think. Okay, let's see. Yeah, a couple people asking about the split screen thing. I guess maybe it just didn't have to be the whole time. You know, make it a little more dynamic by not having it. I thought it was a little distracting. Let's see. So this is interesting. So somebody said, what do you think about Hillary attacking Trump for saying African American communities need to be improved? Do you see this as hypercritical or hypocritical to what the Democrats usually espouse? So there's interesting debate on this. Look, a lot of the cities where this stuff is happening, have Democratic mayors and have been ruled by Democrats for a long time. I think Trump said 100 years in some cases. I'm not sure if that's exactly true. But a lot of these cities right now that have this stuff happening, much like Chicago, have Democratic mayors. So who are you blaming? Are you blaming the Democrats that are in charge or the Republicans? Dinesh D'Souza, who I had on, laid out a lot of this stuff. I don't know how much of it is all fully legit, but I would welcome you to watch that interview that we did. I don't think that my gut feeling is that he's not, in the sense that he views people by color and says that I would like to treat these people this way and these people this way and these people this way. I think he, like most good people, would like the inner cities to be better. I don't think he thinks that the Democratic policies are the best for that. And I'm sure she doesn't think the Republican policies are the best for that. Let's see. Hey, Dave, how do you think Trump's answers and attitude compare to the previous debates? He seemed really well-spoken and polite. I think particularly the first half, especially the opening, he was extremely calm and thoughtful, I thought. And then for the first half, really owned it. And then he got a little unraveled. You know, think about my temperament. I'm the best with the temperament. You know, he speaks in hyperbole, and it's a lot of over-the-top stuff. The thing is, the people that love him are going to love that, and the people that don't like him are going to hate it. And that's what this election. So this election, and most elections come down to it, but those people in the middle, that how do you sway them? How do you sway that average person that might agree with some Republican principles more, but maybe doesn't like the person that Trump is, or that might believe in some Democratic principles, but doesn't like the person that Hillary is? And that's why this is interesting. That is why this is an interesting election. Okay, let's see what's going on here. Hey, Dave, what was your feelings on Trump saying he approves of the use of the no-fly list? So this is a slippery argument because people don't want to take the full argument in one point. Here. So if you want to know why the mainstream media sucks right now, I have CNN right here. On the phone, Patty Solis Doyle, former Clinton press secretary, former Clinton presidential campaign manager. Do you think you're going to get any truth out of Miss Patty Solis Doyle? Who do you think Miss Patty Solis Doyle thinks won the debate? Guess what? You're hearing pure drivel right now. Let's just, here, I'm going to put on Fox for a second. What's going on Fox? That's CNN. Patty Solis Doyle, I'm sure she's giving you great insight and honest appraisal of what happened. Now on Fox, let's see. On Fox, no, somehow I turned to NBC. We had Tom Brokaw. Like Tom. No problem with Tom Brokaw. My remote doesn't seem to be working. Wait, here we go. Fox News has, what's her name? What the hell is that woman's name? Someone help me. Come on, we're my team here. The blonde on Fox all the time. Not Megyn Kelly. There's a lot of blondes on Fox. Not Meghan McCain, the girl that she's a woman about 50. She sits in for O'Reilly all the time. She's got the big cross. The big cross. Yeah. Somebody. Nobody's giving this to me. All right. The point is, she's a big Trump supporter. Laura Ingraham. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, whoever said that. Well, the point is, all right. So you have on CNN right now. CNN has a former campaign person for Clinton analyzing. Pretty sure they're going to say Clinton won. Now you have Laura Ingraham, who we know wants Trump to win. I'm pretty sure she's going to say Trump did better. And then let's go to MSNBC, which I'm not exactly sure what channel it is. I think it's this. They have John Podesta, who I believe is on he's a Clinton campaign chairman. So if you want to know what the bullshit is, if there's one segment that you want to chop of what we just did, that's it. These are bullshit artists. And they're in it with the media. The media is in it with them. Chris Matthews interviewing a Clinton campaign spokesman right now. How is that analysis? How is that furthering the dialogue? How is that giving you any bit of truth? What you should have right now are honest, decent people who either don't have their minds made up, or if they do, who can really explain to you why they came up with their position, but not people who are campaign chairmen, campaign spokesmen, people that used to work in administrations with these people's husbands and daughters and brothers. It's bullshit. What was the question? What was the question again? Dave, what would you rather see, Clinton's emails or Trump's taxes? I think my answer would be Clinton's emails, because if these 33,000 emails exist, and if there's some damaging stuff in there, A, if she became president, they could use that against her, whoever had these emails. But B, she was in a position of power, and those are a public record. And either by her ineptitude or by willful ignorance, or whatever you want to call it, those emails are now out there somewhere. Someone's got those emails. WikiLeaks has those emails. And if they drop them the day before the election or the day after the election, it could be a huge deal either way. So Trump's taxes, I do think he should release his taxes. I think he's bullshitting, of course, on this audit thing. And I'm sure he has not given to charities the way he said he's given. I'm sure he's done some shady things. I doubt he's done illegal things, because if he's done illegal things, you know that the feds would be all over him about it. So I don't think he's evading, federal tax evasion or something like that. But he doesn't want the money he's seen, either because he doesn't have as much as he says he has. It's a bit of a bragger, or that he hasn't given as much as he said he has given. But I think that in and of itself, which one is worse? The person in power that was doing something that the FBI director, or what's his name, the special prosecutor, Comey, said was basically, he was like, you're an idiot. That's worse to me than what a private person does with their taxes. Okay, let's see. Somebody says, hate to break it, Dave, most people are going to have some biases. Of course, absolutely. I have biases, right? Everyone on earth has biases, for sure. But the point is that immediately, if a campaign event, if a debate ends, and that the cable news, where you're supposed to get news and analysis, do you think right now on MSNBC, I have John Podesta staring at me, his big head. Do you think anyone is getting any insight, honest insight, from John Podesta, who is being paid by Clinton? The answer is no. And I'll change the channel back to CNN right now, if I can get over there. And what do they have on CNN right now? Here's Van Jones, who absolutely is in the tank for Clinton, and not Roger Stone, the white-haired guy, whatever his name is, I forget his name at the moment, for Trump. And then you've got Gloria Borger, who has never said a sensible thing in all her years. She's always got sources everywhere. She never names any of them. And then you have David Axelrod, who used to run Obama's campaign. I mean, it's like these are people who are all fat on the system. And nobody's accepting this bullshit anymore. You guys are seeing through the bullshit. Why should I? I'm a freaking YouTuber sitting on an IKEA couch. I shouldn't be bringing you more truth than these fucking people. Yes, what do you got?
And this is the front page of the Huffington Post.
Jeffrey Lord is the guy. that, oh, see, this is interesting. Yeah. Okay, thank you for pointing that. So Jeffrey Lord is the guy on CNN. So the front page of Huffington Post right now, okay, it says, Orange Crush, Donald destroyed at debate. Okay, that's the Huffington Post. Arianna Huffington runs a media organization, or I guess she just stepped down, that doesn't like Trump. So then that's their analysis. Now can you go to Drudge? Birther question destroyed him. Yeah, the birther question was pretty bad. But of course, the Huffington Post is not a honest media organization. They're a liberal, I would say, in many cases, far left media organization. Drudge on the front has a Drudge poll, who won the presidential debate, and I'm going to guess that when you click it, it's going to show Trump hugely, because obviously it's mostly Trump people going there. Let's click it and view results. All right, it's going to take a second to load. But do you see the media bullshit? They are spewing bullshit at you. Don't accept it anymore. Don't accept it anymore. That's why there are people online that it actually seems quite ridiculous that people have to come to me to get some sense out of this. I'm doing the best I can here, but I really am one guy. Again, a couch. If I was in it for the money, I'd be on a much better couch, I assure you. I've had this fucking couch for too long. All right, let's see. Somebody said we'll get the answer to the Drudge thing in just a sec. The poll.
Drudge, I think, is actually crashing.
Drudge might be crashing right now. But do you see that bullshit? Don't pretend that Huffington Post. These places are just websites. They're just websites that are owned by rich people with an agenda. And don't pretend that they're giving you news, because they're not giving you news. Question: why would Trump not bring up the Clinton Foundation when she brought up his company? I don't know. I think maybe it slipped his mind, and I think he did stammer and yammer a bit in the middle of that. So I think maybe he just lost his train of thought. Try to imagine, these people are 69, I think. I think Hillary's 69 and Trump is 70. Try to imagine them having to be on the top of their mental game for this long, for this period of time. Now, I have a suspicion that they're both probably drugged on something to be paying attention all the time and be sharp all the time and to know all the facts. Hillary was looking down at notes a lot. I don't have an inherent problem with that. Yeah, CNN, just the same old 18 people who predicted everything wrong for the last year. Now they can continue predicting more garbage. All right, let's see here. I'm going to go to MSNBC. What's going on? They still got Podesta. Now you got Rachel Maddow. Maddow, who obviously is a huge Clinton supporter, although she probably really liked Bernie. Yeah, there, and we'll go to Fox real quick just to keep the train going and show you that I'm not being biased here. What do we got on Fox? We got Megyn Kelly, and she's got Howard Kurtz and that other guy. Howard Kurtz is, I think, pretty nonpartisan, so that's a decent one right there. Okay, let's see what else. Seriously, thank you so much for having the balls to think for yourself. Yeah, you know what? I don't think I'm doing anything that great in that regard. I think most of you have the balls to think for yourselves, and I think they've dumbed us down to the point that people think that if you say something that you think that's slightly unpopular, that you lose your job or you're going to lose your friends or your family. We need to get out of this nonsense. This is bullshit, this political correct machine that has made us all afraid to say things. Why should you be afraid to air? Whoever you support politically or whatever view you have on abortion or on foreign policy or something, that you're going to lose your job or you're going to lose friends. Don't lose friends over politics. I've lost a bunch of friends in the last year, not by my doing. I've had people just, you're a bigot now and you're a racist and some other bullshit. And I found better friends, by the way. Guess what? If somebody doesn't like your politics and they say, I'm not your friend anymore. I just lost a friend this week that I thought I was friends with. Lost him this week. If someone doesn't like you because of your politics, then go find better friends. There's better people out there than these fearful people. Let's see. Somebody said debate. Since when is regurgitating talking points pulled together by a staff of hundreds at debate? They both lost big time. Look, there's a certain construct to what our system can allow. Everything being equal, we should have Lincoln Douglas style debates, which is just the two of them for like 2 hours, plowing through each other, time after time. And I would argue for almost no rules, and let them interrupt, let them speak over, let them be rude. It would be a more raw and real thing. It would be more honest than what we have. That said, this was pretty good. Try to just keep in mind what debates are, what you've watched for the last year, the Republican and Democrat debates. This was pretty solid in terms of an actual back and forth, an actual attacking of someone's record. Trump was all over her record. You voted for Iraq. you voted for Libya, you know, some of these other things, what you're going to do with the economy, and you've been in power for these last 8 years and all that. And she attacked him for his taxes and some of his business dealings and all that. That's a pretty solid debate, all things considered, and considering how mangled our media and our politics are. I thought that was pretty solid. Hey Dave, do you think that, as Hillary suggested, Trump has ulterior motives in pushing his tax plans, especially in regards to his business or personal business partners? Look, I don't know what's in his heart, but Hillary has a ton of friends. When Hillary talks about the giving away of money, or, you know, maybe you didn't give as much to charities, I think the Clinton Foundation, what is it that they've given away? 9% of their donations, their hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars in donations, have actually gone towards the causes, right? It all goes to operating expenses, which is basically just keeping rich people rich and making other rich people feel good that they're having $50,000 meal dinners with the Clintons and other people in power. So I think there's some interesting things, like when she says, well, you just want tax breaks for the rich. You know, it reminds me of like something like the estate tax argument. So the estate tax, for those of you that don't know, is that the government comes in, there's a law right now, and it changes every year or every few years. But right now, there's the estate tax, the federal estate tax. States have them as well. And the federal estate tax is around $5.3 million. That means if you die and you have over $5.3 million, that the state, the federal government, basically can come in and take about half of it. That the state can just take it. Now, that money was taxed throughout your entire life. It's your money to give to whoever you want, and the state can just come in and do it. Now, some Democrats and people on the left would say, well, that's fair. Now give that money to poor people, or put that money in other things. I would argue, and by the way, I don't have $5.3 million, nor stand to inherit $5.3 million. I would argue, what right does the state have to take money that was already taxed, tax it again, before giving it to the people that you want to give it to? It's your money. So it's an ethical argument, I think. That being said, we have to figure out a better tax system. You know, when they'll say, well, the wealthy people aren't paying their fair share. I mean, wealthy people pay a huge percentage of their taxes, a huge percentage of the tax income that comes. Do we need a fairer tax system that makes more sense so people can't cheat and people can't hide money in the Cayman Islands and all of this other shit? Absolutely. But there's difference between an argument that sounds good and easy and an argument that's real. So like, you know, like the minimum wage, for example, and we've talked about this on the show a bunch. You know, you can just say, Bernie kept screaming about $15 minimum wage, and then Hillary, and then the young people go crazy for that. That sounds really great. And Hillary would try to, she said, well, I'd do 12 and maybe we'll get it to 15. And people are like, you freaking sell out. Arguing for minimum wage hike, Trump's against it. The thing is with the minimum wage hike is it's hard to tell a private business how they should run their business. So if you said to McDonald's, all right, you're going to have to give all your employees $15 an hour, guess what? They're going to replace half of their staff with iPads. So instead of talking to somebody, not that that's a really pleasant experience at McDonald's, you're going to just punch things in on an iPad. And then instead of 50 jobs at a McDonald's where they hire people, you're going to have 10 iPads that they'll have bought once, and a guy that comes in once a month to fix the iPads, and somebody that cleans the grease off the iPads. So these arguments need to be made in honest and mature ways, not simple and idiotic ways. And unfortunately, we're not particularly good at that. Dave, what do you think about them letting the audience react to the responses? Isn't the moderator supposed to shut that down? I absolutely think they should be allowed to respond. We are humans with human emotions. Why should you not be allowed to cheer at something you like or boo something you don't like? The audience by the end decided to do whatever the hell they wanted, which was great. Could Lester have shushed them? I guess. By the way, if he had shushed them, that would have helped Trump, because it would have been thought of as, see, the media is trying to shush the Trump people. Although Hillary got some applause breaks and a couple laughs and all that. But I think that's nonsense. That's absolute nonsense. And if you want to know what nonsense it is, you can fact check me on this. But 4 years ago, when Newt Gingrich was running for the Republican nomination, there was a run where he had like 4 debates in a row where he just crushed everybody. He was by far the best debater, and partly what he was doing was using the crowd, and he was getting people to cheer and boo and scream. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, they just announced, "No, sorry, crowds, you can't do that anymore." So because the party wanted Mitt Romney more than they wanted Newt Gingrich. So the inherent flaw in all this is that the parties do whatever the fuck they want. The debate commission that sets this thing up, they're the ones that pick the arbitrary number of 15% to stop Gary Johnson from getting in, and Jill Stein. So the system the system protects itself, and these guys are kind of in on it together. That's just kind of how it is. Do you think that the performance from Hillary will put an end to the doubts about her health? I think the people that doubt her health are going to continue to doubt her health. There's no doubt about that. They'll keep mocking it and making memes about it, joking about it. I think what we saw that day on September 11th in New York City was legitimately scary. My initial reaction before I jumped on Twitter, when I first saw it, was scary. That was a lifeless body. That was a fully lifeless body that was just crumbled and carried into a van. That's scary. So I don't think it'll put an end to those questions. And on CNN right now, they have John Messina, who is Hillary's campaign PR guy. I'm sorry, that's Fox right now. And let's see what they've got over on CNN. I'm guessing more Gloria Borger hour. They've got somebody talking to Trump. All right, that's pretty good, on the floor. And let's see what's over on MSNBC. They've got Andrea Mitchell doing a little analysis. Okay, Andrea Mitchell. I'm 99% sure she's voting for Clinton, but I think she's a basically decent woman, and she's probably trying to give some somewhat moderate analysis. So there you go. She's also dressed exactly like Hillary Clinton, which is a little bizarre. All right, where are we? Dave, how do you think Johnson would have fared in this debate against both candidates? Not particularly well, unfortunately. I mean, I said this earlier. I don't think the guy's a particularly good debater. I don't think he has a particularly good handle on the issues. I think he's a babbler and a little silly. I like him personally. I liked him on my show. I talked to him for a half hour in the green room privately, and I really liked him. I thought he was a decent guy, and I'd love to go hang out with him and go skiing with him and smoke some pot. But I think he would have been overridden by Trump's attacks, and I think Hillary would have just policied the shit out of him, and I don't think he would have done particularly well. That being said, I think it would have been good for America to have seen another choice up there. There is nothing, as I've said repeatedly in the last couple of weeks, there is nothing in our Constitution, which is the laws that we're governed by, there is nothing in our Constitution that says we're only supposed to have two parties. We have a two-party system because the two parties have tricked us into thinking that's how it's supposed to work. But that isn't how it's supposed to work, and that's why we get the gridlock that we get. You know, let's, for just a sec, we got about 5,500 people in here, which is great. If any of you are on the Twitter or you're on the other social media things, tweet out to people that we're here. Bring other people here. You're here. Bring some other people out here. Yes, got a thumbs up from the team. Okay. So he said, what would you have asked if you were moderator? You know, I would have done, you know, I like doing a little bit more of the broad stuff. And I think maybe I would have opened with something sort of simple, but like, that might have just put them in a different frame of mind. Would open up with, why do you think that you are uniquely positioned to lead the world? And do you think that it's possible that that makes you a little crazy? Because I don't know that they really get asked either one of those two things. Maybe the first one a little bit. But I think, do you think that makes you a little crazy to put yourself under this scrutiny and have this amount of power, to have the power of God, of the ability to kill millions with the press of a button and all this stuff? Like, I would have liked some personal philosophical understanding of why they think what they think. That's the way I conduct interviews, but maybe we'll get to that in the next one. Let's see. Trump has kept it together for half the debate, then allowed it to unravel significantly. Do you think Trump performing similarly in diplomatic scenarios would be damaging to American relations? So I agree with that analysis, which is what I said. I think the first half he was on point, and then he unraveled a bit. I think that's possible, but you know, when you're in negotiations with these people, I think, well, you know what? I was going to do something that was going to be complete conjecture there. So I don't know. I think that negotiations are tough, and we have to suspect that because of his business experience, that he's basically a good negotiator. So I don't know that we could judge that either way. And here's Hillary walking down with her fake smile, and oh, so fake. Let's see. Hey Dave, I live streamed the debate here in Australia. How do you think the results of the election will affect us here overseas? Well, first off, hello Australia. And I had Rita Panahi on from the Herald Sun over in Australia. She was on, we just taped it, she'll be on next week. And we talk a lot about Australia, because one of the things that I say often now is that, you know, we don't talk, all we talk about now is the election here. We never talk about foreign policy. We never talk about any other country except when the bomb goes off. So we talk a lot about Australia. So I hope you'll dig it. And as I've said,
She's on this week.
She's on this week. Sorry, Rita Panahi is on this week. We taped it last week. She's on this week. So how do I think this stuff will affect you overseas? Look, Clinton has somewhat of a track record of some military adventures. She was for Iraq. She was for Libya. I suspect she's been for bombing in Syria. You can find my feelings on all of those things when I've done public videos when most of those things were happening. I was against all of them. But by the way, that doesn't make me morally superior because Saddam Hussein was doing horrible things, as I said earlier in this video too. But I was completely against Libya, and I was against Syria, at least without a coalition. I kept saying, let some of the other countries do it for once. And Trump, what do I think he's going to do? Look, this idea of having the countries that are in NATO pay us for our defense, I mean, Japan's a pretty rich country, and we pay, our military defends them. So is it odd to have them pay us? I mean, I don't know everything about international relations, but I mean, I do know something about it. It doesn't strike me as if we're doing something for you, you do something for us. So it's hard to say how any of this stuff would go. But I think it would be a different set of rules altogether with Trump. Whether that would be good or bad remains to be seen. Hey, Dave, honest question. Have you become any more tinfoil since escaping progressivism? Have I become more tinfoil, meaning more, are you saying more, meaning that I'm wearing the tinfoil hat so I am conspiratorial? Not exactly sure what the question is. But I have escaped progressivism. I think progressives basically have gone off the deep end and they've ruined a huge swath of the left. I'd say that the left in America, 80% of it are things that I don't stand for, and they're against free speech, and they're for censorship, and they're for demonization, and they use all that coded language of racist bigotry and whatever to stifle debate. And they're for all this bullshit on college campuses with trigger warnings and safe spaces and all this nonsense. And they're not tolerant. They tell you how tolerant they are, and that they tell you how not racist they are, and then they talk about race and creed and religion all the time. I think progressives have done a really terrible job with true liberalism. And I think a true liberal or a classical liberal has more in common with a libertarian, and that's the way it used to be, than they would with someone on the far left or on the far right. And I can give, two quick examples of this are the ones that I use, which are, gay rights and marijuana. You may not care about either one of those things, but as a liberal, you could say, well, I'm for gay rights because I see a gay person over there and I want them to live the happiest life they can live. And I like smoking weed. I'm liberal with weed. When it comes to weed, I like smoking weed. And a libertarian might say, you know what? I don't care about that gay person, but I don't want the government telling them that they can't enter a contract with another person. So I'm okay with gay marriage. And I'm the libertarian. I don't give a shit about weed, or I love weed or whatever. But I don't want the government telling me what I can smoke in the privacy of my own home. So those are two simple examples where libertarians and classical liberals, real liberals, can come together very easily. So that's where we have to do some bridge building. And the progressives are not for bridge building. They're for burning bridges and demonizing everyone that doesn't agree with them. And the second they change, the second progressives are okay with gay marriage, if you're not okay with it, you're a homophobe. And that's just stupid. 8 years ago, Barack Obama ran for president of the United States. He was not for gay marriage, right? So was he a homophobe at the time? No. Politicians are fearful, and they lead last often, even Obama. But progressives, the second something happens, the second a trans issue pops, if you don't change the second the way they change, now you're a transphobe. It's nonsense. It's not the way humans evolve or humans think, and it's not good for discourse in any way. How do you think the debate will affect the polls? I'm going to guess that there is going to be a little bump for Trump. It sounds like the polls have been skewing his way a little bit so far. I'm going to guess a little bump for Trump. I think that the polls are basically going to stay close this entire time, and no one's going to know till that night. Let's see. Hillary pointing out Trump getting money from his father. Are you responsible for what your parents did and did not do? Chelsea has lots of money from Hillary. Could she be considered the same camp as young Trump was? Absolutely. It is a terrible line of argument by Hillary, and I think it's disingenuous and dishonest. Chelsea Clinton. Why do you know who Chelsea Clinton is? Guess what? Her dad was the president of the United States. Her mom was a senator from New York who became senator because her husband was the president of the United States. And then after that became Secretary of State because she was a senator, because she was a first lady. So that's the only reason we know who Chelsea Clinton is. And by the way, Chelsea Clinton is going to end up running for something, probably senator. And this is, we left England because we didn't want monarchies, and we're building them here. right? We could have had a Bush-Clinton thing. We've already had 2 Bush presidencies. So I think it's a horrible argument. If your parents, if your ancestors, your forefathers, your grandparents, if they worked hard and they set you up on success and then you took that success and built on it, why should that be held against you? This is such a garbage regressive. This is a truly regressive view of things. You should be proud of success. Now, you can argue that maybe the business dealings he's done haven't been good or honest, or he did shady things or hasn't paid some taxes that he should, all of that stuff. But the argument that you should be punished for the supposed sins of your parents because they were well off and they helped you be well off, what garbage that is. Hillary's going, oh, my father was a coal miner, blah, blah. That's great. He was a coal miner. You then moved up the ladder. You did pretty good on that ladder thing. And guess what? Chelsea has been given everything and gone to every private school and been handed everything in her life. And guess what? She's probably done a lot of good in the world and with charities and God knows what else. So holding that against the Trump kids is absolute bullshit. Dave, do you think at this point in the election, do you think Bernie might have fared better than Hillary against Trump? I don't know, because I think the system right now, you know, Hillary represents the system, Trump represents the outsider. And had it been Trump and Bernie, you would have had 2 outsiders attacking the systems from different places. Trump from a more capitalist place, Bernie from a more socialist place. I don't know that the system would have allowed that. And actually, pretty sure the system wouldn't allow it because Democrats basically fixed it so that Hillary was going to beat Bernie no matter what. So, you know, I don't know that Bernie would have done any better or worse. You know, I think I like Bernie the man better than I liked a lot of his policies. I think he's a decent guy, but I don't buy into a lot of his policies. And I grew to like him less as the campaign went on, but, you know, maybe. Do you think that political dynasties and massive inherited wealth are a threat to democracy? Hugely, hugely. What do we have right now? We have a former president's wife, a former first lady, running against a billionaire. You don't need much more than that. You don't need much more info than that to know that we have a problem here. Why, if you were a good, decent person, let's say me, for example, I studied politics, I have a decent analytical mind, I like this stuff, I care about this country very much, I like having hard conversations, all that stuff. I would never run for president. I would never run for president. Why would I want everyone ciphering through every email that I've ever said, every voicemail that I've ever left? Our system is so horrific that we've created a system where the only people who will ever run are the people that have been in it forever, or people who are so rich that they can figure out ways to silence everyone beneath them. It's a major flaw in the system, and I hope no matter what happens after this, that this is the last election that we're going to have like that. And of course, I hope that we're going to have a 3rd or 4th or even a 5th party. Hey, Dave, longtime fan. How do you think a Trump presidency would change U.S.-American relations in Europe? Greetings from Austria. How do I think it would change? I think that a little bit we need to wait and see how Brexit works out, because there was a real different dynamic there now in the European Union. I don't think it would change it that much. That's the irony. I don't think Trump would actually change that much, but I do think he would change our negotiating posture on some things. May not work, maybe will work. Yes, would he talk to people in different ways than we're used to talking? Yeah, he would. But I don't know that it would change or alter the relationships that much. I think Europe's in a lot of trouble right now, and that's why the Brexit vote happened. And people are really upset about what they see happening with borders and the economics and immigration and all that. And you know, it's one of these issues where if the left won't deal with immigration honestly, and every time you want to have an honest discussion about it, they tell you you're a bigot, then what's going to happen? The right is going to come in and take over. So this is why I talk about the left all the time. If you guys want to understand why I talk about the left, it's because I want the left to be better. Because if we don't talk about things honestly and liberally and clearly and using logic, we just hand everything to the right. And I personally would prefer that didn't happen. What strategy should both candidates change or adopt for the next debate? Hillary, in my opinion, just still needs to come off more human. And I know that's not why you should vote for somebody or not vote for somebody. Barack Obama came off as very human. Does that mean he's the best president ever? No. But you know, her fake smiles, her every movement seems like it's been prepared for the last 40 years. People are over that sort of posturing. So I think she needs to come off as more human, less scripted. I think would be good for her. And Trump, I think has to still figure out how to, I think he did a really good job of it the first half of controlling his emotion and making good points. By the way, he seemed to have a much bigger command of issues than he has had, which I thought was kind of impressive actually. And maybe that was his big reveal tonight. Like, I had to knock out these losers, Little Marco and Lion Ted, and, you know, stupid whoever. But then, you know, that he needs to take what he built on in that first 45 minutes and now expand on it, not seem like he's rampaging through her. And he has to have clearer answers for some of this stuff. You know what? If you're saying, well, I'll release, you know, I'm not releasing the tax records because of the audit. And at the same time, he said, but if Hillary releases the 30,000 pages of emails, I'll release the tax records. How about beat her to the punch? Like, be the better person in this case and say, you know what? I thought about it. I was going to do it anyway. There's nothing to hide. So I'll do it. And now the onus is then on Hillary. And the media might turn on her a bit. So I think that's the way you could play it a little bit. Hey, Dave, what was your opinion the most intellectually dishonest moment of the debate? I got to think about that for a second. You guys let me know what you think while I'm thinking for a second. Intellectually dishonest moment. I need to think it through more. I don't have something that's jumping at me at the top of my head. You know, the thing is, we're so used to being lied to all the time and be force-fed half-truths that at some point they start saying things. Like, there were a couple moments where we were all sitting here and we were like, is that true? Is that not true? You know, there was the line about Hillary saying that the deaths in New York City have gone down under de Blasio when they were talking about stop and frisk, which no longer exists under Mayor de Blasio now. And Hillary and Trump kept saying, that's not true, that's not true, that's not true. Now, I lived in New York City when it was shitty before Rudy Giuliani. And I even remember my great-grandma and my grandma lived in New York City. And I remember going there when I was a kid. I'm talking about in the early 80s. And going there, and it was disgusting. And you would never go to Times Square. And it was a disaster. And then some of that was on Mayor Ed Koch. Then David Dinkins, it was really a nightmare under him, both Democrats. And then who cleaned it up? It was Rudy Giuliani. And Giuliani was using stop and frisk and all that. Now, it may not be constitutional. I'm a little confused whether it's constitutional or one judge struck down the use of it. I don't know if that necessarily makes it unconstitutional. I could be wrong on that, so we can look into that. But Giuliani, a Republican mayor, did clean up New York City. There's no doubt about it. But so, for example, that was a good case where the fact checking, we needed it on the fly. She's saying deaths have gone down under de Blasio, and he's saying they've gone up. Well, what's the truth? I don't have the answer right in front of me right this second. Somebody's saying, okay, a few people are saying that deaths have gone up since de Blasio has been there. All right, so in that case, then Hillary lied.
No, that's what they think is the most dishonest moment, but we didn't confirm.
Oh, okay, so all right, so some people are saying that was the most dishonest moment, the deaths have gone up thing. So I don't know what the answer to that is right as we're doing this right this second. So we'll stay on that. Let's see. Yeah, we can shift away from just policy stuff too if you just want to ask anything else for a moment. So yeah, it was something. We just watched something. It almost feels like you know, like after you have sex and then you're like, whew, that was a lot. You know, and then it's like cleared of your mind sort of. But I think that America just went through that. We all just kind of fought, and this is where we're at right now. And we've got two more of these things. We've got a vice presidential debate as well, and we'll see. I think that was a pretty healthy debate. If you want a silver lining, if you're nauseous by all this stuff, if you've just had enough of all this, that should be your silver lining right now. Is that was a pretty solid debate. There are real differences between these people. I don't particularly buy either one of them telling the truth, and I think they're very different people. And I don't think that the worst things that people say about each of them are really true. I don't think that Hillary is necessarily being controlled by secret globalists who want to destroy the borders and make us a European global nation state. And I don't think Trump is a secret white supremacist who's running to restore the white nation. But I do think these are people who have really different views on how America should be run, really different views on how capitalism should be run, really different views on how the state should impose its power, whether in terms of military or in terms of whatever. So here's a good example of sort of intellectual dishonesty. When Hillary's talking about Trump's taxes and, saying, well, he wants to save all the money on taxes. It could have gone to something else. It could have gone to this or that. It's like, you've been for wars that have cost a lot more money than anything that Trump could have saved America in taxes. So that's the type of thing that's just sort of nonsensical. Okay, let's see. Yeah, so all right, you're giving me a lot here. All right, I think we're gonna wrap this thing up. We've been going for about an hour and a half. The whole debate was only an hour and a half, so I gave you an hour and a half by myself, unscripted, off the top of my head.
An hour.
Yeah, it's
what?
been an hour.
Oh, it's been an hour? Oh, Jesus. Does that mean I have to do another half hour? All right, I'll keep going a little bit. Keep going a little bit more. This is, you know what, I'm going to take a 30-second commercial break, as we say in radio land. A reminder that the show that we do, the Rubin Report, is fully fan-funded. So you can go to rubinreport.com/donate, and you can donate on PayPal for a one-time donation, or you can donate on Patreon, which is patreon.com/RubinReport. And people donate $1 a month, $20 a month. We've got people that donate $500 a month. And that is our budget that allows us to do the show. We're trying to get to a place where we'll be doing 2 shows a week, hopefully soon. And that pays my salary and Amira's salary and David's salary. We all take the same salary, by the way. It pays for Emma's dog food. And it allows us to grow the show. And we've built a production company. And I'm really proud of the community that we've built and the types of conversations that we're having. And I don't get the money that CNN or MSNBC or Fox could throw my way. But honestly, I don't think I would take that money now because I have a direct line to you guys. And it's a kind of beautiful thing. So it's rubinreport.com/donate if you want to jump in on that. And it's appreciated and help. It gives us the budget to go ahead and do the show. We don't have to enter partnerships that we don't want to enter. And we're able to we have no filter between us, right? There's no filter. It's me and you, and that's it. Okay, Dave, during the debate, Hillary emphasized the notion that words matter. What ways do you think this both hurts and helps her? So the words matter thing, in general, I think we all get caught up on words, right? So I do think words matter, but I would say, this is a paraphrase of something Sam Harris says, I would say intentions matter more. Your intentions matter than your words. We could all get caught saying something that we don't quite mean or misspeaking in a certain way. I know what it's like. Sometimes I'm interviewing somebody or I'm doing one of these things and I start saying something and I'm like, wait a minute, that's not really what I meant to say, or that didn't come out in the most artful way. And I'll see this every now and again on Twitter even or wherever. Someone will clip something that I said literally for 3 seconds, me saying 3 seconds worth of something. I said something in a video that I did, a DM that I did a week or 2 ago, and I said something to the effect of, it doesn't matter if you're right or wrong. The important thing is that you get heard. Someone on Twitter clipped that and said, here's what Dave Rubin thinks, it doesn't matter if you're right or wrong. And they clipped the first half of it, and it was me saying it doesn't matter if you're right or wrong. So implying that I like moral relativism or something. And it's like, that was not my point, that it doesn't matter if you're right or wrong. We should all strive to be right, whatever that is. But my point is that the important thing is that you speak your mind, because if you speak your mind, someone else will speak theirs. Hopefully they can convince you of something, you convince them of something. So words do matter, but I try not to and I do get caught up in it sometimes too, in the outrage of the day. You know, someone said this way and slightly said this or that. And it's like, you know what? And then automatically, what do? We label them a racist or a bigot or a homophobe. And it's like, you know what? You're allowed to, whatever your private thoughts are in your own home, you're allowed to be a bigot. You are. I don't like you if you're a bigot, but you're allowed to be a bigot. If you start legislating, if you start trying to use legislative power to enact bigoted laws that are against gay people or against black people or against Muslim people or whatever, then I have a problem with you. But in your own mind, you're allowed to say accidentally stupid things or even intentionally stupid things or jokes that don't go over well. And that shouldn't be a referendum on your whole life. And we have to stop constantly jumping down everybody's throats the second they say one thing you don't like. And now everything else they've said in their lives is off the charts. Let's see, besides freedom of speech, what issues do you want to explore more on the Rubin Report going in the future? So I definitely want to do more on economics, because we've done a little bit on economics, and mostly I think from a libertarian place, but I would like to get in some more mainstream conservatives on that. I'd like to get some mainstream leftists on that, some socialists. So I definitely want to do more on economics. I had a really, really cool chat today. It'll be up next week with Zoltan Istvan. He's running for president for the Transhumanist Party that you've probably not heard of. But their whole party is about technology and health and how so many things are happening right now about AI and designer babies and stem cell research and futurism, all of this stuff that is going to have massive implications on our lives in the future, and no one's talking about any of these things. So we had a really cool conversation that was half sci-fi, half politics, which are my two favorite things. So I definitely would love to do more on the science front on that. I'd like to talk some more religious people. Obviously, I've talked to a lot of atheists, but I'd like to talk to more people of faith. We have a bishop and a rabbi. It sounds like the beginning of the joke. We got to work on an imam. Yeah, we're gonna. Oh, here, stop, question, and frisk has decreased nearly 97% since in New York City since. Oh, I lost it. Oh, here we go. Trump claim. Okay, so according to the Trump claim, New York City murder rate was up post stop and frisk. And according to this MSNBC fact check, the New York City murder rate hit historic lows in 2016. So if that is the case, and this is MSNBC saying that, if that is the case, then Trump either misspoke, but it more sounds like a direct lie. So that's a nice piece of journalism right there. They've got Howard Kleinman, who I think is a decent guy, and he's giving them fact checking. They said something, let's fact check it. Let's ask a campaign spokesman what they thought of the person who's paying them. If you could choose one person alive to be president, who would it be? I know Sam's not going to be happy if I said this, but I would vote for Sam Harris. I think he's the most decent, smart, thoughtful person that I know personally and professionally. And I think he has a flexible mind, that he's willing to hear other thoughts and change his mind. And I think that he's dealt with the types of attacks relentlessly, dishonest smears that you have to go through to become president. And who wouldn't want someone that's that smart and philosophically profound to be president? So I assure you, he won't be. Please don't send that to him. He doesn't want to be president, I'm sure. And I don't want to. Yeah, no. Hey, Dave, are you going to make any Star Wars references in this live stream? Well, I will say this. You know, on TNT this week, they showed all six of the first six. They didn't show Force Awakens yet. And I something because I watched them all again. I've seen them all obviously a jillion times. The problem with the prequels, beyond that George Lucas decided to write and direct and executive produce them all, so it was just too much of a lift for one person, and he wasn't as sharp as he was back in the day. By the way, he didn't direct Empire, and he didn't direct Return of the Jedi. He directed the original. But it was a big lift for him. But the story of the prequels really is a massive political story. But yeah, the story is about young Anakin becoming Darth Vader. That's the through line. But there's really a massive political story related to the fall of the Republic, how a leader can gain more power and start wars, start a separatist war, and start the separatists and the Emma's having some issues. Start a war between the separatists and the Republic that then allows him to gain more power. So there's some really cool political stuff in there. It was just such a freaking heavy lift. And I think that one day maybe they can redo them in a way that would be better. Because yeah, although Revenge of the Sith I think is a pretty solid movie, especially the second half. Phantom Menace is tough, and Attack of the Clones is just confusing. Like, who is Cypher Diaz? I know because I've researched, but I shouldn't have to research something in the movie. Okay. Do I think that Trump's answer to the race question alienated more African-American voters or gained more support? I think, here, Emma, I'm going to say hi to Emma. Best dog on earth, Emma 2016. She's the best. She was rescued from Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans, and she's lived in New Orleans, she's lived in New York City, she's lived in LA, she's been to the White House, she's been to the Grand Canyon. She's had a good life. Do I think his answers? I think it depends on I think with some people it's going to help and some people it's going to hurt. How about that? I would judge people as individuals, not as a broad community in that way. By the way, on MSNBC right now is Donna Brazile. Donna Brazile for the past year has been a CNN contributor. She was also a super delegate. They somehow didn't bring that up that often. And the second Debbie Wasserman Schultz got canned by the DNC, they hired Donna Brazile. So they're all in bed together. All right, cool. So I'm gonna wrap in 10 minutes. So I'll give you 10 more minutes here. So yeah, you can throw out some questions. Doesn't have to be. Somebody said, "Hey Dave, you're a fan of sci-fi, any good books you'd recommend as a starting point? There is a great collection of short stories by Philip K. Dick. Philip K. Dick, who wrote many things like Total Recall and Minority Report and Blade Runner and many other things. You can get a really great collection of his stories. And he wrote, what was that movie? The cartoon movie with Scanner Darkly. And it's just simple stuff. So you could read, several short stories in a night or one a night for 20 nights. But I do love some good sci-fi. I'm looking forward to, is it Westworld coming on HBO? Yeah, I'm looking forward to Westworld, which I think comes out next week. So, all right. All right, I'll take a couple more questions, then I'm going to wrap it up. RubenReport.com/donate. Favorite episode of The Simpsons? That's a great question. So The Simpsons from episode 4, I'm still in Star Wars mode, from season 4 to about season 9, that's as good comedy as there is. I'd say Seinfeld's probably the best sitcom of all time. The Golden Girls is the one that I hold the closest to me. But those years of The Simpsons are probably the greatest comedy, just pure, brilliant, irreverent comedy. So many great episodes in there. I would say there's a couple that I don't think I can pick one. When the family moves to that town with Hank Scorpio, Homer's boss, who becomes an evil lord, an evil manager. It's just brilliant. That's a great one where they're also bored because, or Marge gets so bored because the house is cleaning itself that she has to start drinking, and she says, Homer, I'm so bored, I've started drinking 1.5 glasses of wine every day. I know you're supposed to drink 2 glasses, but I just can't drink that much. This was a great line. I think I slightly butchered it there, but it's a good line, trust me. I would say that one. I would say the Halloween episode with Lisa's tooth is one of my favorites. The 3D episode is phenomenal. The one where Homer trips on the Guatemalan insanity peppers, that might be my favorite if there's a favorite. Lisa's a vegetarian episode. The Who Shot Mr. Burns are absolutely brilliant. What else? Let me think of one more good one. When Milhouse becomes Radioactive Man, or Fallout Boy. So many good episodes there.
You're saying you aced The Voice also? I
did well on the Marge voice. Homer, I'm drinking 1.5 glasses of wine every day. They say you're supposed to drink 2 glasses. I just can't drink that much. I used to do that better. I haven't busted that one out in a while. Okay, so there's a reminder, the Patreon link right down below if you want to jump in on that. It's patreon.com/RubenReport. Just click a link, 50 cents, whatever it is, because a lot of people are asking for more streams. We do more of this kind of stuff. Yeah, we will. I like this because I get to, yes, we are doing these every month, people. I'm laying down the law right now. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I see what's happening here. So I got 18 screens going at once, everybody. We do these every month. So I'm going to do more of these sort of for the wide group. We do these for the exclusive for the Patreon people, where I do this for like 100 people at a time. Or we do some of the Patreon rewards. I do Google Hangouts. I think we have a couple openings left where I do Google Hangouts for just 10 people, which is very cool because we've all sort of gotten to know each other. And it's people all over the world that we've gotten to know each other. And then we do one-on-ones as well. So, okay. Here we go. I'm going to answer one more question, then we're going to wrap it up. And I appreciate you guys sticking with me. This is great. We've got thousands of people watching. It's pretty cool. Do you think it's worth pursuing politics today as a career with the goal of pushing the goals of alternative media? I think alternative media has more work to do to set the stage for the right political people. But we need it on 2 fronts, right? So if you dig this and you want to go into politics, you'll have allies now here. Whether you'll have allies, whether it be Steven Crowder or me or Ben Shapiro or whoever it is, you'll have allies that exist in the online space that you may not agree with and that you may agree with. And then hopefully you can, if we have the right people now that were supporting this, and this is why I think Gary Johnson really missed the boat on something. The media was ignoring him, utterly ignoring him until he screwed up Aleppo. He did that stupid thing with his tongue. And he had that horrible interview about illegal immigration. And it's like, if he had just said, you know what, screw the mainstream media. I'm going to do this all through online media and really focused. He did do my show and it got hundreds of thousands of views. But if he had said, I'm going to focus on all the online shows. I'm going to go to everybody. I'm going to go to Rogan. I think he did go to Rogan. But really, that's going to be my home. he could have built something much bigger. So I think you need it on two fronts. You need the online people to do the online thing, and then you need the candidates, whoever they are, and hopefully it's you out there watching right now, to go on that front, and that's how we'll change the system. All right, cool. It's been fun. I've been talking for a long time. We did it, everybody. Like we got through a debate, and just remember, the world is not going to end at the end of this. Even if the person that you don't want gets in, we have a system of checks and balances. The world will go on. Donald Trump, if you hate Donald Trump, he's not, when Hillary's going on and on about the nukes, it's like he's not running, he has a very good life, this man. He has millions and millions, if not billions of dollars, and a big family. He's not running for president to destroy the world. And at the same token, Hillary Clinton is not running for president to destroy the world. That doesn't mean that either one of them might not destroy the world. They might, but I think this is where we should try to take their intentions a little more clearly and a little more thoughtfully, and don't lose friends over this stuff. And but have honest discussions, have hard conversations, because otherwise, what's the point? Like, don't censor yourself. It's supposed to. The government is supposed to come for our free speech. Not that I want that, but don't come for yourself. Don't come for yourself, and don't lose friends over politics. And all right, that's it. It's been fun. We'll do it again. And I think Emma wants to go for a walk. Ciao.